Hi everybody. It's been an awfully long time since I've recorded one of these. I did not want this to be a talking head kind of video, but I know many of you were looking forward to and wanting to see the inside of the rig and the outside, and just to know what all's going on. And you know, I had talked about this for such a long time during my hiking videos. My hope was that I was going to be able to retire and just do this full time. And I did it. It's happened. About a month ago, not to bore you with details, I was able to sell my house, which was much quicker than I thought. I was told in my area that homes don't last long, and I thought, well, I better list mine in January. And this was a terribly hard winter, I think, everywhere. And the Northeast was no exception. New Hampshire was very cold, and we had an awful lot of snow. But nevertheless, the house sold in 2 weeks, and the buyer wanted to move in 5 weeks, which is also pretty short closing, which put me in a real bind in that it's great to have your house sold. That's the hard part. But you know, what rig am I going to move into, and what am I going to do in the dead of winter? Camping is certainly not my plan. Maybe if I step back a little bit, my ideal was list your house in January. It'll probably sell sometime in April or May, and I'll be closed in June. Take the trailer, and life will just be wonderful. But as you know, life doesn't work that way. So as a result, I was camping in New Hampshire from the 15th of March. This is the 14th of April. So about 3 weeks. One of the reasons I stayed in that cold weather and worked my furnace and my propane supply to the max was I had a business. And I got to tell you, selling the house, well, let me just say this, retiring in my case was probably the hardest thing I have ever done. I've gone through some trials and tribulations like you all have during your lifetime, but selling that house, cleaning it out, as you know, I ran a ministry for a couple of young men who were still in the ministry. They had to find new accommodations, and it was just a stressful time for everybody. I have a pastor friend who had a workshop in on the property in the barn, and things work out just perfectly for him. Certainly was the Lord's hand involved in that. But the bottom line is, as a single fella trying to get all this done, well, it wouldn't have happened but for the grace of God and the help of some really good friends, new friends that I made along the way. A contractor who had done some work for me helped me clear out the attic. My son and his father-in-law helped in numerous ways. They came up and spent a long weekend with me too. So I was just really thankful for all of that. Unlike for some people, retiring is you kind of turn in your notice and let your employer know that in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever the case might be, that'll be your last day. But I owned the business. So the extra step for me was the disposition of the property. I went to my landlord, since I leased my space, the classroom space, and asked, based on the longevity of my lease with him, been with him for many years, and the fact that I've caused no trouble and no damage, if he wouldn't be kind enough to maybe release me from my lease 2 months in advance. I was not looking, well, I didn't think that would be successful, but as a surprise to me, he came right back and said, yeah, that would be fine. So I finished up my last class, which took until the 29th of March. So the 29th of March was the last day that I taught. Was able to dispose of the driver ed vehicles and donated most of the property, most of the tables and chairs and fixtures and those kinds of things to my church, Cornerstone Baptist there in Stratham, New Hampshire. And I stayed around, I believe, for another week just to get things kind of cleared up. And around the 6th, I believe, the weekend, the Friday after Easter, I hitched up the trailer and moved out of New Hampshire for a long time. I may be back next summer. We'll see. We'll just see what the plan happens to work out to be. Again, I don't want to ramble and make this be a 20-minute video. I went from New Hampshire to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. That was about a 7-hour drive. It was more than enough I boondocked in the Mohegan Sun parking lot at an Indian casino. Didn't even know they had one there. So stayed there for free, and then I went on for a long weekend into Cranberry Township to visit Leland and Michelle and Aiden and Dylan, my grandsons, and as well as his father-in-law and mother-in-law, who've become very dear friends of mine. Then the event was able to mooch dock. I was in Leland's father-in-law's driveway for the long weekend. And Tuesday, I hitched it up and drove on down to Cincinnati to East Fork State Park in Ohio. One of the reasons for my coming south was in New Hampshire, in New England, in New York, in Pennsylvania, state parks and a lot of RV parks do not open until the middle of May. And obviously that wouldn't work for me. So the further south I go, then we run into the year-round parks. So I'm here in South Fork. I've enjoyed it. It's a huge park. As a matter of fact, I think this is the largest land area park that is in the state of Ohio. From here on, tomorrow is Sunday, is my last day here, and then Monday morning I'm going to be going on south to Cave City, Kentucky, and I'm going to be there for about 8 days to visit Mammoth Cave and some of the things that are around there. And from there to Rock Island, Tennessee, and I understand that's a beautiful area with lots and lots of hiking trails.